For the longest time, I was both curious and skeptical about the legendary clog from German footwear company Birkenstock. But after picking up my first pair in Montreal, my feet have never been happier. And today, in this very video, I'm gonna give you 3 things that you should know before purchasing your very own pair of Birkenstock Bostons. My name is Drew, what it do? Let's get into the Birkenstock Boston review. The number one question I get about any item that I showcase online is how do they fit? So let's knock that out right away. The Birkenstock Boston is obviously a clog slip-on shoe. So you don't want to mess up sizing and go too large or go too small. In my experience, I went with my true EU size, which is an EU 45 in most pairs that I wear. And if you're from the US or Canada and don't know your EU sizing, don't stress. On the Birkenstock website, they have 2 tabs that distinguish between EU sizing and US sizing. If you know your US size approximately, if you're an 11.5 or a 9.5 or a 10, then you can look at that size chart and it'll most likely match the fit that you're looking for. But knowing your EU size is kind of imperative. In order to purchase Birkenstocks off of other retail sites, they typically use the EU sizing system as opposed to US size 11 sizing systems or whatever size 9, size 10 sizing systems versus the EU system. So when you go on to Essence, when you go on to other retailers, they're gonna have the EU sizing. So it's good to know your EU sizing as well, which is easy to do because all you need to do is when you look at your US sizing on Birkenstock's website, you can click EU and it'll match that size in correlation. And literally all of my Birkenstocks are from secondhand retailers, whether it be Essence, like I mentioned before, Livestock, or Canoe Club. But there is an advantage to buying from Birkenstock. Their customer service is fantastic. And if you can't try on the Birks that you want before you're able to purchase them, I would buy from Birkenstock, because if you buy from Birkenstock, they have a return policy that is much more adept at handling returns than some of these second-party retailers. Not to throw shade at them, it's just the truth. They're a multi-million-dollar company versus some of these secondhand retailers, which are also multi-millionaire companies. I guess I'm kind of going off track. I don't really need to talk about that. Buy from Birkenstock and your customer service experience more likely will be better. As a general rule of thumb, with the Boston clog, you want to go true to size. That's the size I went with, and more times than not, every single time I've ordered a true to size pair of Birkenstocks, I've loved and enjoyed the fit. There's one more thing that you should know when you buy Birkenstocks, especially if you're buying them off the Birkenstock website. There are 2 options in terms of width distance that you can choose from when buying your pair of Birks. There's regular wide, and then there's narrow medium or medium narrow. The overwhelming majority of people will need to go with regular wide unless you know for a fact that you have an extremely or incredibly narrow foot. I have a pretty narrow foot and I still went with regular wide because that was the option presented to me, I assume, from these secondhand retailers. So I didn't really have a choice in the matter. And as a narrow footer, I can say that going regular wide has caused no discomfort. There's not that much room in the forefoot. In fact, when you use a lot of Birkenstocks, you have this strap here along the top of the shoe or along the top of the clog. And what you can do is you can kind of cinch in or hold your foot in a little bit more by tightening the belt loop that is a part of the upper of this clog. True to size, regular narrow. You're welcome. All right, number 2, let's talk about break-in time. Now, I've been wearing these brown clogs the most out of all of the variants of Birkenstocks that I have, and I do have to say that these are probably broken in the most, so I want to talk about my experience in break-in time and what it's been like wearing them. And when it comes to Birkenstocks, I've always heard that as you wear your clogs more and more, the cork insole really molds to your foot and the comfort increases with more wears. And bro, it is no joke. I've probably had 10 to 15 good wears in this brown Birkenstock variant, and I absolutely love each wear more and more after every wear. Kind of repetitive, but you understand what I'm saying. Now, when you get your first pair of Birks, you might think that I'm lying because the cork insole is a bit rigid, it's a bit stiff, and you're probably gonna think like, why did Drew lie to me? This is not the experience I was expecting. And it's true. When you first get your pair of Birks, they're gonna be a bit more rigid than what everyone else is talking about, but that's part of the process. Like I mentioned prior, as you wear them more, the cork insole will mold to your foot. And something that I enjoy about wearing the Birkenstock is that when you first get them right out the box, it kind of feels like a mini massage on your foot, right where the arch of your foot is. That portion of the insole feels really, really good for me and has only felt better and better with more wear. So you might really enjoy it, you might not really enjoy it and enjoy it later, but don't give up on the Birkenstock just because you have a bit of not even discomfort, just uneasiness about the first impressions after putting your foot inside the clog. Put your foot inside the clog. Put your foot inside the clog. Put your foot inside that should be a commercial. Put your foot inside the clog. Put your foot inside the clog. All right, if you watch that part, you gotta subscribe now. Like you can't not watch that intimate moment, me serenading you, and not subscribe to the channel. Something else that you might experience when you first get your pair of Birks is the fact that the upper of the leather pairs of the Birks might feel a bit stiffer when you first get them versus the first few wears. And that's the same experience that I'm experiencing when it comes to these kind of chocolate brown Bostons versus these more kind of tan, mocha, tobacco-y. I think these are called tobacco clogs. And there's a bit difference in their material composition, which we'll talk about in the next section, but something that you should know, like I said, is that as long as you have a leather version, they should break in just like the cork sole should break in over time. About 5 to 7 wears, just wear them around the house all day before you take them outside, or if you want to just throw them right into the fire, take them outside with you, wear them as you please, and I think that you'll be pleased after I think you'll be pleased after about 5 to 7 wears. That's kind of my experience with about 6 to 8 hours of wear daily, right? If you have a pair of Birkenstock Bostons and you experience any type of discomfort or you enjoy the comfort of them, write down your experience down in the comment section, enrich the community. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about these clogs. All right, number 3, numéro 3, numéro 3, however you want to say it. Let's talk about the variant of Birkenstock Boston that you end up deciding to pick up. You see, I really wanted to commit to this video and show you guys 4 different variants of Birkenstock Bostons from a material composition makeup. And if you've noticed in the B-roll, there's a subtle difference between the material makeup of each one of these clogs. And if you've really been paying attention, these ones over here behind me, those ones are so buttery. From my understanding, there are about 5 to 7 variants of uppers that you can choose from when buying your own pair of Bostons. Pretty much what you get is that you have subtle variations in leather, right? There's this kind of tobacco tan variant that's a more short hair suede leather variant. There is the more chocolatey brown variant. I can't remember the name on this, but I'll make sure to leave it in the description. This variant is a more oiled leather variant. You can tell just by the way that the leather looks. We also have this one hiding over here. This is the vegan variant. The vegan variant obviously has a synthetic upper and still has a cork insole, but it does have a little bit of differences, which we'll talk about. And last but not least, we have this is a Birkenstock Bold collection item. These Birkenstocks have a much higher level leather. It's heavier, and we'll get into that as well. Let's start off with the vegan leather option. Make all the vegans happy. Let's talk about this option. So this vegan leather option feels much different than the other non-vegan options. Starting off, the insole of this Boston clog is a lot smoother. The cork used doesn't have any suede that textures the interior of the insole, and so it feels a bit more smooth and less kind of rigid, or it has less friction to it when you wear the vegan option compared to the non-vegan options. And I would say that the vegan option is definitely a little bit less comfortable than the other options. For whatever reason, the materials used, it's a lighter clog as well. Of all of the variants that I have, the vegan option is the lightest option, a little bit less comfortable. And something I've noticed is that because it's a synthetic upper, for whatever reason, the synthetic upper, it's a kind of Birkenstock proprietary polyurethane plastic version of a synthetic leather. It holds in heat. So whenever I wear these, I tend to sweat. My feet tend to sweat more. I know it's such a beautiful visual, Drew. My feet tend to sweat more, and as a result, I feel like these probably are nicer in the colder months of the year because my feet do get a bit hot, more hot than the other leather options. Even though leather isn't like the most breathable, most sweat-proof material, for some reason this synthetic material kind of cooks my foot, especially because it's black as well during this summer heat. The vegan leather option is the cheapest of the bunch, so if you're looking to maybe dip your toes into the Birkenstock Boston, look at the vegan option. If you are someone who believes and practices veganism, then it's a no-brainer for you. This is the option for yourself, and yeah, I think you'll still really enjoy the vegan option. There's just, you can tell there's a subtle difference in terms of how they feel. Not necessarily how they look, but definitely how they feel when you put them on your foot. All right, let's talk about these two options. This option right here is the oiled leather version, and then I have the short hair suede leather version. Something that I like about both of these leather options is the fact that they maintain their shape whether your foot is in them or not. I know a lot of people complained or do complain about the fact that if you buy the more long-haired suede variant, the actual forefoot of the Birkenstock will collapse on the shoe, making it harder to put your foot in and kind of defeating the purpose of the performance and the functionality of the clog as being a slip-on item of footwear. Hopefully that makes sense. I think both of these variants are very, very similar. I think the oiled leather look over time will continue to break in and kind of mold and have different scratches and different kind of features to it that'll really show very prominently on the forefoot. And I think that this more short-haired leather version, while it's really beautiful, I think it'll probably maintain its aesthetic and its look as long as it doesn't get too dirty. If it does get dirty, it could look a little bit more scraggly and look a little bit more unkept. While this brown, darker version, I think the more you wear it and ding it up, the cooler it'll look, the more character it'll have. It depends on the colorway you go for when it comes to that kind of experience, but overall, these are very, very similar Bostons. I believe these come in at around the same price range. Actually, I think the oil leather version, it comes in a little bit of a lower price range. This more short-haired leather version, I think, is a bit more expensive. But either way, I think you can find sales on a lot of Bostons if you shop around and look and be diligent. I found a good sale on these when I was in Montreal, and I ended up picking up these not necessarily at a sale rate, but I think they're a little bit lower than what they were on Birkenstock's retail site. So there's always opportunities to find sales. Just be a bit diligent, and you'll find you'll find the clog for you. Put your foot inside the clog. Now, last but certainly not least, if you're into high quality items, you should take a look at the Birkenstock Bold collection. Now, what's the first thing that you notice about these clogs that's a bit different from some of the other variants that I have right here? I'll give you a second. All right, time's up. It should be that you notice this giant, almost belt-like looking buckle on the side of the Birkenstock clog. The Birkenstock Bold collection attempts to elevate your experience when it comes to the Birkenstock Boston clog, and they have a couple of the silhouettes as well. One of the things that you'll notice right off the bat is that these two clogs, compared to carrying the other two or any other two, these are the heaviest of the bunch. The leather feels like a very thick cut of leather. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm sorry. A very thick cut of leather. And then what you also have is that the outsole, the tread of the outsole is a bit thicker as well and more pronounced. And definitely by comparison to the other pairs, it looks relatively the same, but it has some subtle differences if you have that attention to detail. Now, it's not to say that these regular Birkenstock Bostons don't have a bit of quality to them, because I feel like when you're paying over $100 for a slip-on shoe or clog or whatever you want to call it, you're going to get a relatively premium product. This just takes it to a little bit of the next level. And while I don't think it's necessarily necessary for anyone to purchase this, I know that there would be some people who are similar to I am when it comes to certain things and really enjoy trying to experience the highest level of a product. And I think that this is Birkenstock's one of Birkenstock's attempts. Obviously there's the collaborations and all the things that they do with, you know, designers and designer brands. But I really like these a lot because I feel like when I go out to wear them, they give off a bit more of an elevated look in comparison to maybe some of these other clogs that don't necessarily have that same elevated feel to them. This isn't for everyone, I get it. Most people will want the tobacco colorway or this brown colorway, or if you're a vegan, you want the vegan leather combination. I understand that. That's why I decided to make the video about all of them. But if you really are interested in these, I would stay connected with Birkenstock 1774, or if they have more Birkenstock bold colorways that come out, I would stay tuned to that. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe. And as always, I'm spreading peace, love, and positivity in 2022. So that means I'm spreading peace, love, and positivity to you. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time. A bientôt. Peace. Yo, what is good? Post vid. Let me put these away for y'all, man, so we can get the fist bumps in. Here's one for the one time. Bop. Camera's a little bit far away. Gotta reach for it. Bop. I appreciate you guys so much for staying to the end of the video. PVV, I decided not to hold my lavalier mic. I decided to put it on a clip and on my shirt. I haven't done that in a long, long time. Tell me what you think. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know. Either way, I got one question for you guys. I always love asking the PVV questions and reading them in the comments, so I appreciate you guys always. My question today is, Birks with socks or Birks without socks? Now, you're gonna be hard pressed to find me putting my bare foot on the internet. That's just not what I'm gonna do. But in real life, sometimes I wear my Birks without socks, sometimes I wear them with socks. And some people are like, Drew, why are you wearing socks with your Birks? I'm like, bro, I do what I do. So let me know. Socks with Birks or no socks with Birks? Let me know. Love y'all, man. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.